Call this meeting of the Operations Committee to order. Stand for the pledge, please. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Approval of the agenda.
What's the administration regulation?
Suicide prevention, SS 50. It was on our agenda a couple of meetings ago, and we never got to it.
Okay. That's the one with Mrs. Yeah. Okay, I'm okay with it. Yeah, I'm fine
Can I
with
make a motion?
it. Yeah, I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda. I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda.
Second.
I was just giving the gentleman a cut.
3-0. We have a need to go into executive session to discuss project priority list relative to security. Need a motion on that too.
I'll move that we go into executive session to discuss the security project priority list.
Second.
3-0.
Question.
Do we have any actions appropriate discussed in executive session?
Move that the security presentation be brought to the full board without recommendation from the committee.
I can't second it, only you.
I don't believe that I can second that motion. It's just, it can be sent to the officers, correct? You know what? I'll second it.
All right, 3-0, Robin.
And that's without recommendation, correct?
Without recommendation.
Final recommendation.
Okay.
Public comments, we have no public comments. Okay. Architect contracts, these are the boilerplates.
Okay, so what I provided you is a copy of our modified AIA B101 contract. This is the standard form between owner and architect. We are subscribed to the AIA contract service. AIA is the American Institute of Architects. So all of our contracts are based on AIA documents. They have a form for agreement between owner and architect for design build. They have, almost any type of construction arrangement that's out there, they have a format. So that is our base contract. Off that, we modify some things here and there to fit our needs as a district. And then we have also gone on, after those modifications, We have a construction attorney, Bill Callaghan, who reviewed and gave recommendations on his thoughts on how this contract should be set up. So this is to answer some of the questions about not being concerned about time in executive session to review contracts. So what I've done is I've highlighted in yellow most of the places where we make contract changes. So if it's highlighted in yellow, that means that's an area where we would input project-specific information. So you see at the top, the date, the architect's name, a description of the project, and then kind of the agreement of the scope of work. Then if you go on, most everything else does not change from contract to contract. So the idea here is if you have a short time in executive session to review a contract of this thickness, if you have this and know where the areas are that there's typically changes, you can go right to those few areas and know exactly how this contract is different than other contracts we put together. So after the first page, you'll go to page 17. That's kind of where the cost of the work is put in. Also, you see compensation for additional services. If there's any of those, we would fill in that section. And then this can change from time to time. This is how the architect's contract is paid based on the different phases of work. All construction design contracts are divided into these different phases. You have the schematic design phase, the design development phase, the construction document phase. So when you get to the construction document phase, that means you're going out to bid. And let's just say at that point, this would say maybe 70% done. So they would be paid up to 70% of their contract amount once they reach that phase. Next phase, procurement phase, means the bidding has been completed. And then of course the construction phase. So before an architect gets paid, they have to complete each of those phases, and whatever that percent is set in the contract is what that amount will be based on their amount of their contract. So this can vary from contract to contract. You see there at the bottom of page 18.
And who's doing the checks to make sure that they are actually holding their side, their side of the bargain up? Who's actually checking them to make sure that it's being done, the work is being done?
So I believe so anytime an architect submits what we call a pay application, it first comes in and is checked in with our office manager, and then from there it goes to the project manager. So the project manager, Alexander being one, Tim being another. Once we bring in another firm, there may be others. They will review all the submittals from the architect to see if they're in line with the phase of the project they're in. After that is reviewed and signed off on, it goes to procurement to make sure it's being charged to the right accounts and to make sure that the contracts are correct. After that, it would come to myself for sign off. After I sign off, it goes to Tanya Crosby for sign off. After Tanya Crosby, I think it may go to the superintendent. That may be the end of the line. I don't remember if these stop with the superintendent or Tanya Crosby or the superintendent, but that's the process for checking all pay applications.
Right, but I think I remember you saying something about they were doing some work. I'm asking you, who's checking to make sure that we're paying them for, that they're doing that exactly?
So the project manager is the one that goes to the project on a weekly basis and is supposed to be up on what stage of the project they're in. So whoever is the project manager for that project reviews that project and makes sure that whatever stage it's at and whatever stage they apply for is where they are. So the answer, I guess, is the project manager. But then on top of them, there's several other people responsible for checking other different portions of that payout to make sure it's been done correctly.
And in the project plan, there's a deliverable.
Mm-hmm.
It's not tangible,
Right.
deliverable.
Right.
It
Exactly.
says they're done, that you can go touch it and look at it. And that's what the project manager's supposed to do.
Right.
I have a couple of questions.
Yes, sir.
Does anybody else use this boilerplate? Does the federal government use this boilerplate?
I can't answer the federal government. There may be certain arms. I can tell you most school districts, now this has been modified here and there to meet our specific needs. Most school districts would use an AIA format for something like this. Most major construction projects use an AIA format. A lot of government agencies use a similar type format. It's designed by an engineering group, not by an architectural group. So there may be
I just threw the government out as an example. I
Yeah.
just want to make sure.
federal government I'm talking about. Now,
Yeah.
state government would probably use an AIA format.
State government uses it, okay. The other question I have is, on the percentage basis on page 17, I was under the impression that that was a standard percentage.
No,
That's-
it
that's
depends on,
negotiable?
yes, it is negotiable. So I've told you, you may have heard me say before, when architects bid on projects, price cannot be a factor. That's state law.
Right.
Once an architect is selected on qualification, we negotiate the fee. And that is negotiable. It kind of depends on the project. So a large project, like a Robert Smalls, that's a large single project, is gonna have a smaller fee than say asking an architect to do 5 small projects for summer work. That's gonna be a little higher fee. So yes,
Alright.
it kind of goes with the scope of the project a lot of times.
All right, that's okay.
This is helpful. Are you gonna distribute this to the whole board?
I can if that's the wish, yes.
I
It's
think
currently
that would
board
be
docs.
beneficial.
It's currently in board docs.
Okay.
And I'm gonna come back with another version of this for the contractor, the CM at risk contract. Vic Halligan is still reviewing that, so when he's done reviewing that, I'll provide that as well.
Thank you.
A boilerplate like this?
Yes.
It's not confidential.
Yeah, this is not confidential.
Right.
Once we fill in the contract
Numbers,
specific,
yeah.
then it's confidential.
Okay, I think this is a really good idea you had on this one, so that people can review it ahead of time and not have to worry about confidentiality. Good idea.
Thank you.
So, it's out in board docs. Can you give the board a heads up that it's out there?
Yes,
So they can go look at it?
and as we move it to the agenda, it will be on the January.
Yeah, your report for the committee, you could, well, we'll meet in executive session prior to your committee report, so. that was-
But I'll have that in there because it's part of the January 17th.
Okay.
And you'll give them a heads up prior to that,
Yes,
like tomorrow or something. Just say
I can let
it's
you know.
out there, you might wanna look at it. and
so that
digest
you
it,
have plenty of time.
Because it's a lot of pages and it's legal. It's legal talk. All right, thank you. There's St. Helena School Gym. This topic's been on for months and months and months, so we need to wrap it up somehow.
Do you want me to present on this, or do you have?
Well, what is the plan? Right.
So as of right now, when Mr. Smith requested us to go out and do a full cost estimate of the project, that was completed, which included, replacement of lights, gym floor, renovation of restrooms, redoing the classroom space, redoing the office space, doing some facade work on the outside, and that was completed and put into the 10-year plan. It was about $1.2 million. Actually, once it got in with upcharge, factors for owner's cost is about $1.3 million. And that's currently in the 10-year plan that you saw last week. So unless there's a will of the board to accelerate it, I would suggest having that part of the fiscal year 2022, which is summer 2021, selection process, which for the most part is starting right now. You'll finalize that in May when you approve the 8% project list, and my suggestion would just be have that as part of that approval. Otherwise, you'd have to expedite it in some way, approve it ahead of the rest of the projects on the 8% project list for next year.
And can you see what those things were? What those things were? We start with the outside. Outside. What were we improving outside?
So there's some brick pointing work that is needed. We talked about placing a facade on the outside, like a metal facade to kind of make it, it's a 1950s building to give it more of a modern feel on the outside of it. And so that's the main parts of the outside.
Well, I'm not the best artist, but I would kind of like to see exactly what we're talking about. I thought you would maybe have some of that, some of those showings on what the proposal is for it to look like and what we're actually changing. If we could have that would be a little more helpful. Because I do remember us discussing changing the outside of it because it looks like a jail when you put up to it. And you know, I like to go visit the school, not the jail, when I'm going to that school, and that's what it feels like. I feel like I'm going to visit a jail, like I'm going to a jailhouse when I put up to that gym. Nay's gym is old and it looks very much like a jailhouse on the outside of it. And then also you have the coming inside. You have the back classroom area. Now, what we doing with that area?
Renovating it, putting new floor, paint, putting a new board on the wall so it can be turned back into a classroom space.
Is that the list? Is that the list of stuff right there?
No, that's something else. I was just
That's the-
pointing to.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, the
Yeah.
capital improvement. Can you go to
Yes.
the last page? I don't remember what the exact number
That's
was.
the last page of the.
Yeah, all the
that's
way
what I
at
was
the
trying-
end,
Trying
or
to find where.
maybe not quite the last page, but FY 2022. So it'd be. So, are you wanting me to engage the services of an architect? I mean, one of the issues is until the project's approved, we wouldn't have an architect start working on what you're calling like the schematic design or layouts of it, until that project is approved. If you're wanting me to engage an architect prior, I'd need to know a funding, I mean, how, is that what you're requesting me to do, is engage an architect to work on this? And how is that to be paid for since the project hasn't been approved?
So, okay, what? That's no problem. We don't have to do that. So, and also, did you say curtains in there as well?
Curtains, lights, floor, all that in the gym area, yes. New curtains, new stage lights, new sports floor.
Robert, is this it?
Yes.
Asset preservation,
Oh, what year are you in?
I'm not sure.
Go down
He
one
said
more.
2022. That's 2 years from now, isn't it?
Well, it's FY, fiscal year, it's always, it would be in summer 2021. So last year, the board approved the projects for this summer, so this year you'll approve the projects for next summer.
So it'll be done next summer.
Yes, if the board approves it this year, it'll be approved done next summer.
Keep going.
I don't see, no, it's higher, so I can't, can you get rid of that? I think that right there. Actually, I can push on it, can't
You can push on
What is this?
So did we approve last summer?
There we go. Ooh.
What did we approve last summer? This
No,
summer.
they're not.
The other boards we
Can
approved
you
this summer.
go up?
it. Go
Or
up,
did we approve this summer?
say no on
Keep
that.
going.
That way?
Yep. Keep
Can't
going.
remember when.
It'll be in the, I just wanna see.
Keep going.
Keep going. Can you shrink the view down? All right, yep, keep going. When you start to see numbers in 2022 is when it's gonna.
Good match, I think it was us.
Huh.
I think it was us.
Keep going.
Keep going. Nope, stop. All right, now go down and find St. Helena.
Let's see, let's see, just say
Oh.
no.
General
Concrete.
renovation, $1.322 million. We also have some projects in the building, upgrading bathrooms. I think next year is when we're also planning to do the security and technology project for St. Helena Elementary. So that would all be rolled into one next year if the board chooses to approve those projects for St. Helena that are up there.
Please help me understand which part of the technology project. Please not tell me the Promethean boards.
No, that's a separate project. I don't know if they're already done, but I think they're already done. They're not done?
I don't think so.
I have to say I don't, but no, those are already funded or already in the works, if not already done. It's not mine.
Because it seems like St. Helena Elementary School is the last school to receive everything. I mean, and I don't know how can we change the rotation and give to all kids versus, you know, certain schools, certain communities first. You know, that's something that the people are very adamant in District 3 of conveying their message to me. And it showed in the referendum. So, what are we doing with the bus in front on line 186?
Says concrete
yeah,
pad
so
for
it was a
pavilion.
pad, yep, just go ahead. There's a pad requested, in that grass area where they have difficulty growing grass right outside the cafeteria, so I think they have a place to go outside. I'm not really sure what that
It
request is.
says pavilion
But it's
outside.
done in
lunchroom.
2014.
That's not about the gym, then.
Okay,
Let's
okay.
stay on the gym.
Okay. Alright.
So the gym renovation right now is, 1.322066 and is scheduled for FY fiscal year 2022, which would be summer 2021, which between now and this committee will select those projects between now and May. And then make a recommendation to the board, who would then approve it.
Well, not necessarily this committee, because this committee here for 2 years, this committee could change, could this committee change in January?
I'm not an officer.
This- Alright, this committee could.
Good, but according to policy, it could change. This committee could change, I don't know.
I mean, because if it could change, then I'm entitled to go ahead and say, I'll make a motion, to make a recommendation that the board does, accept the change, and that be something that is, we go ahead and put this on the agenda to go ahead to be one of the first things on the what is it, something of 08? I mean of 01, what was it, what's the?
Well, you would request that it be, I think what you're saying is you would request some, funds from 8% for fiscal year 2022 to be dedicated to the St. Helena gym renovation. You'd ask for $1.322066 million to be dedicated to the gym renovation out of 8% fund for fiscal year 2022.
But yeah, I think I may need to go ahead and do that so that we can go ahead and get that started first, just in case things change. So, at this time, Mr. Chairman, I recommend that we make a motion of 1322.066 along with the upgrade bathrooms at the gymnasium or no? That's something different?
That's in the main building.
Okay, yeah, that we, make a recommendation for the year of
Fiscal
the
year
fiscal year of
2022,
2022.
8% funds.
And of the 8% funding.
Second, but I have a question.
Yes, sir.
What happened to fiscal year 2021?
That was approved in May, so that was approved last year. So that's already been approved,
Okay,
funded. We're scheduling that work to occur this summer.
okay, but we can't add it.
That's why I was.
Tanya Crosby would have to speak. Those funds, that would impact her borrowing ability. You're trying to stay within $20 million. That would bump the amount you borrowed in last year from, you were a little over $20 million. If I remember right, it was $20.3 million something. And so you would add another 1.3 million. So of course that'd move you up to 21.6. And that, we'd have to ask Tanya if she has the bonding capacity set to borrow those funds. I can't speak to that. Tanya probably would have to speak to that.
But I thought that we discussed doing it, in this summer. That's what I thought originally, we discussed it, and this one, that's why I asked David a minute ago, who voted for May, because I remember in the initial, when we talked about it, even when Dr. Bird was superintendent, we talked about putting that in the 8% funding and getting that into this summer's project. So that's why I was a little confused, and that's why I felt pressure to go ahead and make that motion and move it forward, because I feel like we're ready to play it.
You want to change your motion?
Sure, yeah, I change.
The motion that you made does not sound like the motion you want to make. You want it done this summer.
Yes, sir, I want it done this summer.
The motion you made is not gonna happen done this summer.
Delay it a whole year.
It'll be next summer.
Okay, now I want to make a motion to have it done this summer. So I wanted to add in my motion to say for it to be done within the year of,
So that would be borrowing from fiscal year 2021 8% funds.
Second.
I'm not gonna move for it, because we haven't discussed it. I walked through the gym, I don't know if all that's needed.
I would say-
The bathrooms definitely need to be completed, but I'm not sure about that.
I will let Ms.
Outside, so.
I'll let Ms. Crosby know that this motion's been made so that she can prepare a response to what issues it may be with increasing the amount of CIP funds for this summer. I don't know that answer.
Well, it's, all right, if we can't borrow, if we can't add 1.3 million to what we borrowed for next year,
Right.
still within the board's purview to take a couple of projects out of there and make room for St. Helens.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, right answer.
We're starting the design work right now, so we're starting the design work for this summer right now, so I need that very quickly. Because we'll be already working on those projects. So yes, you can. I just need it quickly.
No, we have a motion that's been seconded. Those in favor? 2-1.
and then also
That'll
another
be a
question.
recommendation to the full board.
And then also, just to move back for a second, it seemed as though there were stuff there were projects that we had in there that possibly that the referendum would cover. And being after the referendum cover those, then I believe that those projects that funding should still be within that 8% funding, because I don't remember us actually going back and taking those projects out of the 8% funding, because I remember us pushing them forward and say, well, hey, that'd be extra money. So if the referendum passed, and those projects would be moved over to the referendum side. So I believe that some of that money is in there, just for the record.
Reclassifying.
So perhaps the input from staff can be, what would we need to do to make it happen? Not necessarily can we do it, but what would we need to do if the board decides it wants it to happen? Okay?
Okay.
Okay. Referendum project timelines, I know you put the timelines in the last meeting when they were actually looked at.
Yes, we put, now these timelines are the same timelines that were presented at the meeting before.
Okay.
I haven't really had any changes in referendum timelines. What I can give you is just an update, and this is where we had the larger scale map project before. And this is, all, what I can say is, for the most part, we're on schedule with anything, with all projects. We're a little behind, as you're aware, the schedule for the selection of architects for this summer's work, because that was not approved last board meeting. But besides that, everything else is on schedule, and we're hoping to move that forward to get that back on schedule at the next board meeting in January.
Do we have the BOE magnifying glasses on order?
Yeah, that's, we had the larger,
We had the larger ones and you all chose
I'm
not to
just
take them.
making-
No, I'm just saying, we had them and
it's
you all
on
chose not to
board
take them.
docs, I mean, it's on board docs, correct?
You took yours.
It's on board docs, you could zoom in and read.
They give out magnifying glasses to you?
Yes, I apologize.
I had the big poster and you all chose not to take them.
Actually, I could read it with my new glasses. My old glasses,
That's
I wouldn't have
impressive.
been able to read it.
That's
but I
impressive.
could read it.
The bottom line is, we're on schedule with the exception of the architect.
Let's say we're behind right now.
And that's not, can't be on the critical path because you said we can make it up at the next board meeting.
We'll get it going as soon as we can, as soon as we're approved to move forward. Right now, we're not,
A little different than what I just said.
huh?
It's not on the critical path.
Yes, to get stuff done this summer, yes, it
It is
is
on
on
the
the critical path,
All right,
most
so-
definitely.
So,
So I mean,
bottom line is, we are behind schedule.
yes, yes,
Okay.
I would say yes.
All right. All through this, that's the only questions I'm gonna ask you, and I'll ask it every time.
Bottom, we are right now
Are
behind
on schedule.
schedule with design of the projects. Yes.
Thank you. All right. Another loose end, the AR on
Yes, sir.
suicide prevention.
Yes, and we had originally planned to talk about this in our August meeting. And Ms. Kiki Swinton, our Director of Student Services, brought this to our attention. And we have looked at the statistics, and just to share with you all, this is from the Center for Disease Control and the World Health Association, that suicide is the 10th leading cause of death in the U.S. for all ages. For children 10 to 14, 1 in 100,000 die each year by suicide. For 15 to 19-year-olds, it's 1 in 100,000. And the data shows that suicide is the third leading cause of death among youth ages 10 to 9 in the United States. The purpose for changing this administrative regulation,
Could you
It's-
just repeat that, I wanna make sure I locked
Yes.
that in that last statement you made.
the suicide is the third leading cause of death amongst youth 10 to 19 in the United States.
Third, okay.
And so what the district wants to do is for all of us to have an increased awareness, not only for our students, but for our staff and our parents and for all. And to be able to have more interventions and be more cognizant to make assessments for our children. Ms. Swinton's worked really hard on this with the staff to develop programs and to have professional development on risk factors, warning signs. And she's also developed a very extensive list. I think she showed it to you all at one of the board meetings, all the resources that are available in our community to help, as well as Alice in our HR department. Can you tell us the name of that program that you can use to refer our own staff? You have those cards in your office where people can be referred to get counseling if they need it?
Hope Performance System.
Yes. So in other words, we want to recognize the fact that this is a problem, and we want to have interventions, so hopefully, if we can prevent somebody from going through this, we can be aware of warning signs and get appropriate interventions in place. And in this model policy, and this has been based on the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, American School Counselor Association, the Trevor Project, to help increase awareness in the community. And that's why there's a lot more detail in here than what we had before, because in the old AR, it was just really general. It was just talking about understanding stages of adolescence, understanding about feelings. But this AR that Kiki's done such a great job with is helping more to do prevention, to recognition, to assessment and referral, so that we intervene early when children are starting to have problems. And so I really appreciate what she's done on this. And also that we work with the parent, that we communicate with parents
Just
and
inform us.
work together as a team, because we're in local apprentice with these students. And we have a duty to make sure that we're aware of how they're feeling and what they're going through. So, and we also have this wonderful crisis response team, you know, they've just been working in the last few weeks with that death that occurred. So, it's an excellent team, it's working very, very hard, having counseling on at the school to help the children. So,
Yeah, we don't approve ARs that bring to us for information.
But I wanted to
if
tell you
we-
the purpose
if
was
we
we-
request changes.
yes, sir, and
sometimes
then
that's-
we've got all of our board policies at the end. We're trying to do that now with all these administrative regulations, so our ARs are aligned to what board policies are.
Any suggestions on it? Well, no,
That's fine.
sorry.
That's fine.
All right, no suggestions?
It doesn't cost us anything, does it?
Well, we're interviewing and using the staff that we have. We have our resources available and community referral
Right.
for too, and we have our staff in place too.
Okay. I mean, I was wondering if there was a cost in that.
Yeah.
It could be, professional
It
development.
means there
but-
might be a professional development fee, and I'm not sure how the cost is involved. I know with some of these outside counseling services, they have like a sliding scale to help families.
Right. And the reason why I asked that is just because I know we're getting ready to go into the budget,
Yes,
and if there was a
we
cost,
may need more school counselors
then,
with our,
then I just wanted to
I mean, I
know
don't,
that,
yeah.
to make notation, so that we could.
But I'll
because,
ask Kiki if she thinks there's a need, and Miss Henderson too, Marie Henderson, if there's a need for more counselors.
I think that's part of the
I-
budget discussions already.
Yeah, it is, that we do need some more counselors.
Yeah, I think we'd already
We
reached
need-
that conclusion.
We have, we need more counselors, we need to help our students, and our staff, Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I just wanna say, I've been involved peripherally in 3, okay, suicides. And in each one, minimum of 1 person on the staff knew the kid was in trouble, but they didn't take it seriously. So that's why, when they get trained to assess the risk factors,
Need to listen.
I hope that's very comprehensive, because,
Need to listen.
every investigation showed that it was known to somebody on the staff that this person was in trouble.
There was a sign, there was a statement. Thank you.
Okay, we're down to future topics. I will say that the January meeting, which was scheduled for Wednesday, the 11th? Eighth, okay, I can't think that far ahead of time. Whatever it is, the
January.
normally scheduled meeting
Okay.
conflicts with
January 8th.
planning commission meeting on
Before high school.
Buford High School and the entrance and everything. So
Okay.
it seems
Let's
more,
reschedule.
it seems more important that we would go to that,
Yeah, right.
Yes,
and reschedule our
Yep.
meeting, okay?
No, that's all right. Yeah, I agree
All right,
with that.
I'll send an email out and we'll try to
Get
adjust it,
okay,
so it won't be on the normal
okay.
second Wednesday, which is the 8th. Okay. I think we covered everything we needed to. I think we needed this meeting because now we're back caught up.
Yeah, no, I can see
We
this.
don't have a lot of loose ends, so we can enjoy the holidays
Yes.
without having loose ends nagging at us. All right, thank you all.
Move with your turn.
Second.